But I'll talk about one section of the book because I thought it was real interesting. It's the name of the book is called uh oh, what am I reading? And I'm actually reading it. I'm not listening to it either. Oh, Comfort Crisis. The Comfort Crisis. That's what it's called. And it kind of centers around this guy who's wants to get out of his comfort zone. It's a nonfiction. So he's going on this caribou hunt for 5 weeks in the Alaskan tundra. Kind of extreme. But where the honky go? Is he still listening? Are you listening, honky?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I think you'll find this interesting.
I'll listen
too.
to you brag about how you actually physically read.
Yeah, you bumpkins have to have it piped into your ear holes. I use my eyes like God intended. Anyway, it's called Comfort Crisis. I recommend everybody.
The only hole that you have
it.
anything piped into is evidently not your ear hole.
It's my eye holes. So.
Are you sure you don't watch Rick and Morty?
I don't. Should I? Maybe
eye holes.
Maybe I'm missing some references here. I mean, I've seen a few episodes. I just didn't think it was that great. I didn't laugh out loud or anything. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Yeah, so they had this chapter just on boredom, and the guy's like, we have a comfort crisis in like the Western world, you know, where we have kind of all our conveniences taken care of, and where we have become consumers instead of producers. I think we've talked about stuff like this before, but basically all our needs are met and we just want like entertainment or something simple to fill our time without using any effort, and we have to have it all the time. Like he gave these different studies, like how the average person in the West spends almost 3 hours a day using their phone, 11 hours a day using some kind of digital device, and he's saying that we basically become like these blobs that are just receptors for entertainment. And he said we've gone through 100,000 generations without any kind of digital devices, you know, before we came to this point, and that according to these studies, what's happening is we don't realize it, but we're experiencing a type of mental fatigue because our brains basically have these two modes. They have a focus mode, which is what happens when we use our phones or the internet or watch TV or anything like that. And we have an unfocused mode, which is basically when we're not focusing on, you know, we're just bored, basically. But he said that bored period is necessary for your brain to kind of renew itself. It's similar to sleep, that unfocused state of your brain. And when you're always focused on a task, you become mentally fatigued, and it also has effects on your health as well. So he basically is saying we're not wired to always have some kind of shit piped into our ears or eyes at all times just to keep us from being bored. He said some boredom is actually good for you. And what they did was they took, this was for younger people, they took young people and took away any kind of digital devices or entertainment and kept them in a controlled environment. I don't know if it was a lab or whatever. And they would do MRI scans on their brain or CT, and they saw the part of your brain that activates when you focus and does not activate when you're not focused. And they said these young people experience withdrawal symptoms like you would from drugs. from like an addictive substance just from not having that kind of digital distraction at their beck and call, you know. And they didn't say anything like this is going to lead to this or whatever, like something drastic. But in my own mind, I've always thought there's something wrong with like the frictionless existence, like to not have any kind of boredom or even like suffering, you know, like small s suffering. I don't mean like starvation. Just think about what our parents and our grandparents did or went through, and how we fill our time today. And I think I don't think there's ever a free lunch. Is kind of what I'm saying. I think that's going to come back and harm us in a certain way that we're not really aware of yet because it's so new still in the grand scheme of things. And because we're, you know, for all those generations of evolution, we just weren't wired to have that constant distraction in our lives. So I don't know what's going to happen to us, but something's going to happen. I think it's going to affect us in the long run somehow. I don't know how you guys feel about boredom or being away from your mobile phone or being away from a computer for an extended amount of time, but for me, I just after reading this book, I notice how many times I pick up my phone and look at it when I don't need to. Like when nobody has actually contacted me or called me or something, I'm just picking it up to look at nonsense, you know, just because I feel bored at the time. Or how many times I've delayed doing something actually constructive and productive because the easy alternative is to watch a show or to look online or do something like that. And I've started to notice that now that I'm actually looking at myself in that way, I'm noticing how often I do that. And I'd really like to not do that as often. I think I'd be a lot more productive as a human being rather than as just this blob that needs to be entertained at all times. You know what I mean? You guys ever considered anything like that? Especially with younger people, I think, kids and things like that.
So, describe to me what about this downtime and boredom.
So, what he's saying is because we are so averse to boredom now, because we're in such a connected society, that boredom, even standing in line, he mentions, or waiting at a red light, people pull out their phones because they can't wait 30 seconds or a minute and look at their surroundings, or just can't wait in line and look at the people around them. They always have to have something that fills their time. But he says that you need that boredom, even though it may be uncomfortable, just so that your brain can he describes it the way you go to a gym or the way you exercise is you put a lot of stress on your body, but then you also need the rest time for your body to recover. And he says the brain needs the same thing. And he actually cites studies. It's not just talking about his ass, you know, where they've done scans of the brain and things like that. He said you need that boredom just so your brain can recuperate and work better when you have to focus the next time. So it's leading to a lot of overstimulation to where we aren't able to focus the same way that we used to because we don't have the rest time in between where we recover in the unfocused mode.
Again, describe the boredom.
What do you mean by describe the boredom? Like, what does he mean by boredom?
So I work 8 hours a day where I'm not touching any sort of device or anything.
Mm-hmm.
My phone is in my pocket. I pretty much don't look at it at all. I got it every once in a while. I might get a notification on my watch. I do a quick glance. I make sure that it's not my wife who needs something, and then I'm on with my day. There's no computer in front of me. I'm not checking my phone every 2 minutes just because there's nothing to look at. There's nothing I want to look at. So I have that. I mean, there's music playing on in the background because there's always background music in a fucking store. And does that count as boredom, or is the fact that I'm focused also on working during that time not count as boredom?
Well, you're focused on working, but I think your mind has a chance to think about other things while your
My
hands are
mind
working.
can think about whatever all day long because
Right.
it's not
So,
like it's not my job does not take any mental energy really. It's
and,
mostly physical.
and so I think that's healthy. I think that's what he means. He especially makes a point of young people that are constantly connected nowadays and aren't able to detach from the connected world and from the electronic devices just because it's almost become a force of habit. Like I'm in IT, so I'm always staring at a screen, but I've also got a second monitor next to me playing bullshit like YouTube and news and things like that. And even when I get home, I'll watch TV or I'll look at my phone and I don't give so my situation would be different from yours more than likely that I don't give my brain a chance to decompress and just be bored. Give my mind a chance to wander and things like that. Sometimes I do, but not often. Not often enough. So I would say this doesn't apply to everybody. Like
So
in your position, you have a chance where your brain can wander and you can have thoughts and collect your thoughts in ways that are constructive, I think. And
I don't find that as a positive
why?
because personally, I'd rather have the ability to have like a headphone in and get some sort of like whether it's a podcast of some information, something like I could listen to some an audio book, something more than just the my own thoughts because wandering around the only thing I can think there's less things that a person can think of because they've pretty much sat down and thought out most everything that they've wanted to think about.
Okay, so yeah, I see what you're saying.
My
So
mind can be doing other things than just
right.
sitting
So
there doing nothing.
so
I gain absolutely fucking nothing from just wandering around not with absolutely
yeah,
nothing. Now, if you're doing something but constructive with that time, that's different.
but here's my point is that you're an outlier. You got 8 hours of this. Now imagine if you were in my shoes or a kid's shoes where you're constantly focused on looking at information all the time, absorbing information, absorbing entertainment, looking at bullshit all the time, all freaking day long, and then I'm not using like you have an overabundance of what I should be using is a board or a time like that where I'm not focused on anything. So I would say that you are on the extreme other end where if you had some entertainment or something valuable that would fill your time like a learning a new language over audio or something like that or an informational podcast, that would be good, but you wouldn't want that to happen 24 hours a day or 16 hours a day, however long you're awake for.
True.
Because you need time to actually think about what you've absorbed and for your brain to process things too. And I think the point he's making is that many of us don't give ourselves that time to process the information we've taken in, or what he calls junk food for the brain. What we're focusing on is just something that gives us a fleeting dopamine rush, just immediately instead of
Do you guys
something.
find yourself more attracted to YouTube Shorts these days?
I don't, because I don't want to, because I stayed away from TikTok, and YouTube Shorts to me it looks like the same thing. So I don't.
It is.
Yeah, I don't want to do that because I know I'll fall
But
down that freaking rabbit
does
hole.
set off, a certain portion of your brain because it is that instant gratification, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. So yeah, I guess that's probably the similar idea of overstimulation.
And he also makes a point that a lot of people have a problem now with delaying gratification because it's so convenient to access now, instant gratification, like Joe said, and that a lot of times if you delay gratification in the short run, you can accomplish better things in the long run, be more productive with your time that leads to better things in the long run if you delay short-term gratification. So that's kind of that one chapter is what he goes over. Now there's a whole bunch of the other book that's really interesting. I think you guys would enjoy it, but yeah, I definitely noticed after reading that book I need to work on my own.
On delaying your gratification?
Yeah, what would you call that? Like your digital habits or whatever, or digital hygiene or something, or
Tantric.
you know. No, it's nothing sexual, you jackasses. It's just I need to.
And this is why you don't have a
unplug.
girlfriend.
Actually, I do a lot of
Tantric?
Don't listen to Joe.
no, I do a lot of stuff where I'm listening to HFY science fiction on YouTube, which is sometimes 20 minutes, whatever. But the deal is also when I'm not online, at least some of the time, I do my own creative writing.
So you're actually being productive with your time.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that's a fraction of the time that I'm actually, absorbing, like you said, content that might as well be TV.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know really where to start as far as like how to unplug myself. Like what would be the best way to go about it. I mean, even when I'm at the gym, I'm listening to music. So I'm not. Just because it motivates me. Not really. I'm not really trying to fill time with it, but it just motivates me to work out. But I don't know really what to do to where to start. Anyways, like filling my time with productive. I know how to be productive, but how to, like, should I limit, like, don't they have those apps where you limit, it tells you how much you're using your cell phone and to quit using it at this time, and
Yeah, they got them set up for kids.
yeah, I'm not really a cell phone guy, but I do grab my cell phone for no reason sometimes, and I notice that just because it's easy and it's there and it's like instant gratification. Oh, okay, here's a news story I didn't know about or whatever. So what I thought about doing, because a lot of the news I read I post to Lemmy in the different communities that I run on there. So I thought about just taking a break from my RSS feed and just don't worry about, because I'm basically the only one that keeps those communities running. I mean, they have a lot of subscribers, but I'm the one that's adding the content. And just don't add anything for a while, and turn off the RSS feed, because it's always scrolling on my right, on my monitor on the other side, RSS feed. But and it's not really things I need to know either. It's not relevant to what I'm actually doing. It's just interesting to me. I think that fills a lot of my time. I could probably do that, and just not worry about keeping those communities going for a while.
I have a suggestion.
What's that?
Think about getting an alarm clock or a dual alarm clock, and giving yourself from 8 o'clock till whatever 11 o'clock is no digital time.
Oh, you mean be an adult and regulate yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that regulating yourself, but maybe you need if you had something that would say this is time to shut down the digital stuff.
That is a good idea, Netminer, especially in the evening, because a lot of times I tend to stay up too late, because I have this feeling that I don't want the day to end. What do they call it, like FOMO or whatever? I'm just like, there's still things I want to do and look at and see and read about, but I don't. It's not it's not anything that's necessary to my life, you know. I don't know. Do you guys ever struggle with that? Mornsey or Joe, or disconnecting from digital devices and having your decompression time?
I have a problem disconnecting from work. I'm still logged in from this morning, working
Mhm.
on the screens instead of plugging my personal laptop in, so my screens are covered with other stuff.
But do you ever give yourself time just to not be looking at screens?
Yeah, for a couple months every year, and when I go to Thailand,
I'm
have
talking
very
about,
limited
yeah,
screen
but
interaction.
during your just regular life, though.
No. While I'm working, I have a TV next to me with stuff going.
Yeah, I can't say that I
When I
do.
go to bed, I turn stuff on. If I'm not tired and stop watching something, I'll put on music videos. Yeah, I usually have something going on.
Me too. I'm like that too. Or I've got listening to podcasts or anything like that. Now, when I go to Japan, I'll be away from that, but I'll be stimulated by just what's going on in front of me, you know, like all the new sites and things to see. So it doesn't really count. But when I get back home, that's something that I really want to work on. So the next show, I won't really be able to give you a report on this, but I guess October's show, I'll give my full report. I'll keep a kind of journal going, see how it goes, see if I've improved my focus and productivity and things like that. And also, I wanted to read this book rather than listen to it, because I wanted to practice my focus of actually reading the printed word, you know, instead of just having it going on in the background where I'm doing something else. So. And even getting back into the habit of reading a book is not easy. Which I used to be a huge reader. Read all books all the time. Fell out of the habit. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that.